Hello everyone. So today we'll be learning how we can use notification queue UI elements. So let's add the notification queue. Okay. So these are the basic settings left for transforming this notification queue. You can it's similar to other UI elements: location, size, zoom factor, rotate, and the waypoint settings. These are in the visibility also. Then we have the style settings. So here we can define different styles. So we will be creating two, three styles. So first, let's create one pyro style. Okay. So, and one more style. Let's say hydro. Okay. So we need asset so that we can add asset here. So let's create some asset. So we will using one image. Okay. Here we will select hydro element and just say let's we have one animation so hydro hello. Okay, so you create one set group say hydro, save this template. Similarly we can duplicate this, rename pyro, change image to pyro image, animation pyro. Now we will go to interface. Here we can add to the pyro one. We can add this pyro. Okay. And for the hydro style, we can the hydro. Okay, we have created a style. Now let's go to the functions tab. So here are the main setting for the notification queue position. So we can specify the initial fill point. So we can give this value upper left, lower left, upper right, lower right. Okay, so upper left for the vertical one, and this is the fill direction. We can give vertical or horizontal. So if we give horizontal, it will first fill the horizontal. Then if there's no space, then it will go vertically down. If we give vertical, then it will first fill the vertical. If there's no space, then it will go horizontal. So this is about the this fill point and field direction. Then we have notification size. So this size will be according to the style asset which we create. So here, if you check, this asset is size of 8080. So and UI animation is 100. So max you can give 100. Okay. So 100 was 100. Okay. So we will be creating a vertical one. So let's say like this. Also, we can provide the spacing between these. So let's say we want to increase some spacing, we can give some value 10. Then the spacing is increased. Also, we can provide padding left, top, bottom, left, right. You can give according to your use case. Okay. Then we have this layout constraint. Align, you can do how you want to align the items that you can give. The layout constraint, we have two options: auto wrap or fixed column. So say If we select a fifth column and in the vertical, let's say column count is max 2. So then you can see we have two columns. So if we say 3, then it will be 3 columns. Okay. Similarly, if you select auto wrap, then it will automatically wrapped according to the space. So let's say we have only this much space. So now we have given this position vertical. So if we increase the size, okay, so you can see all those items got fit into that because of the auto wrap. Similarly, if you change this to horizontal, so if you increase the horizontal size, so it will automatically adjust in that UI. Okay, so we will be using this vertical one. Okay, and here we have the setting whether you want to insert new items to the back of the queue or the front of the queue. So this you will set according to your use case. So front of the queue means on the top or back of the queue means on the bottom. Okay. So usually we will insert at the back. Okay. But sometimes your use case might require front also. So you can change this setting. And this max number shown also you can change here. Okay. So say you want only 5 items to be visible, then you can give 5. If you want more, you can give more. And also you can show for specified time only, so you can set the timer after which that item will be removed. So after 5 seconds, the item will be removed. Okay. So now let's edit this notification item configuration. So here I have one notification. Okay. Let's say this is for pyro item. So I will select the pyro style. Similarly, we can create one more. Let's say hydro item. This will have a hydro style with hydro. Now let's try to add items to this notification queue. Okay, so we'll create one mode graph. So in this only we'll remove this order logic. So when tab is selected, we will be adding to the notification queue. So refresh notification queue. We'll get this character entity, get player entity from to which the character belongs. We will give the notification queue index, notification item ID you can give. So you can see this is the item ID. We created 2 items, right? One is for pyro, we have one. For hydro, we have 2. So let's say we'll be adding one. So let's get this item ID randomly. So get random. So let's say we get the random integer limit 2. Okay. So we'll get a random value. For notification queue data, we need one structure. So we need to create one structure for the notification queue data. Okay. So that we will check later. First, we will check whether that item is added or not. So let's test this. Okay, we need this notification queue data here. So let's create one structure. Advanced data management notification. Let's name as notification. Okay, let's create one variable. Let's say element. It will be string. So we will get symbol. Select this notification element. Let's say so. Basically, we need to create one list symbol a dictionary. A symbol dictionary. So let's create key as integer, value as a string. So local variable. So we'll store that random integer. Okay. So get local variable integer. Okay. So we'll be using this notification item ID. So now here we set key one. So one is one string, one was pyro. Okay. Similarly, two was hydro. So get correspond get uh, dictionary. So we need to use this query dictionary value by key. So key will be this random value element, then this notification. All we have added this unit status. Okay. Now if we click tab, you can see hydros added, then pyro, and then hydro, and that hydros removed. Okay. So this is working. Now let's try to add some text. Okay. Beside that icon. So if we go here to the asset, pyro set, let's add some text. Okay. So we need to use the formal variables now. Okay. Okay. So let's create one formal variable. So here you can see you have option for this formal variable. Let's rename this as element. It will be a string. Then if we go to asset, we can insert a formal variable element and save this. Similarly for hydro also, Let's add one step to insert the following variables. Save. Now again, if we go to the notification queue, then to this edit details. So here you need to link that formal variable for the item. Let's link this element. Here you can give the value pyro and for the height too. Let's give that. Now if we check this, let's check. So basically we need to update that asset also because that text box was not added earlier. So we need to update that thing. So if we go to the UI control group, so here if we go to the style, remember last time we added only this image and UI animation, so we changed that asset. So we need to again update that with the new one. So let's remove this again and that pyro one. So now that text box is also added here. Similarly for hydro one also, estimate is add the hydro one. Now if we test, that should work. You can see pyro text is also added. Similarly, hydro text is added. So this way we can create a notification queue. So we have used the formal variables so that we can pass the value of the item. So here basically use the formal variable. So here we have this notification queue. Okay. So we have this styles. Okay. So this styles will use the asset. Then asset will refer the formal variables. So we have created one formal variable here, element. So that element is being used in that style. Okay. So we have created one fire style, so it is being used there. So and also we have this notification item. So from here we will link that formal variable and pass value to it. So we have linked the element formal variable and pass the value pyro when this item is being used. And for the hydro, we have passed the hydro value. So this is the use case of the formal variables with the notification tool. We can pass the arguments. Say here we want the element name, so we pass the element name. Okay. So yeah, this is about the notification queue. Thank you. Hello. So today we will be learning how we can create a floating interaction page. So if we click tab here, so this is the floating interaction page which we can close it. And we have this tab section where we have element, pyro, and hydro. So in the element tab, when we click on element tab, we have this UI. So here we have two items. One is for pyro element, one is for hydro, and we can hover. Then you can see the hover state. Also, if you click, then you can change the selected element. And if we switch the tab, I can see the details for the pyro element and similarly for hydro. So this we will learn how we can create. Okay. So to create the floating interaction page, we need to go to the manage UI control group, then to the UI control group library. Here you click on this add UI control template, then select the floating interaction page. So floating interaction page have this basic transformation settings where you can set the location, size, and the waypoint settings, and the layer and the initial visibility. This you can set. Also, in the style tab, you can set the background. So currently it is using some preset background. You can select these three, or if you don't want any background, you can disable this toggle. So mostly we will be using without a background, but sometimes you might require the preset background. So and then we have the window, so that we will go through. So here we have the function. So here, if you want to pause the game when floating interaction page is open in single player mode only, then you need to enable this toggle. And this is used to for the initial selected control, means when we open the floating interaction, which control is selected by default, that you can select here. So you will have all those controls here. And this is for enable SFX, means when we open the floating interaction page, what sound it will play. So so you can search open. So I will select this open one, and similarly for disable close. So page close. So it will be like this. Also, we have the section for the formal variables here. So formal variables will be used to pass the value from items to the asset. Okay. So if we refer any image or text, we can refer the formal variables there. So we will be creating these. So first we will go to the style, edit details. So here we will create all our assets. So let me first create some background. So let's say I'll be using this one. Okay. You can also change the color according to your needs. Let's say this one. Now we'll need to first add the tab. So tab we can add here. So these are all the same settings for transform as other UI elements. So this we can skip. If we go to the style, we have preset style or a custom style. So if you want to create some custom style, you can create, but as of now, we'll be using preset style here. So let's select this text. This will set the direction if you want to show horizontal or vertical. So we'll be using horizontal as of now. So here comes our main settings, tab settings. So here we'll be defining the tab item size. So, and here we will be defining our tab item. So let's create some tab item. So first one, we need to create elements. So similarly, we'll create two more tabs. One for pyro, one for hydro, okay. So let's move this up. So you can see these three tabs are visible. Okay. So these are the interaction settings. Mean if you press Q or E, you can navigate between tabs using keyboard. Okay. And you also have some offset. So hotkey means Q and E are the hotkeys. So if you want to set the offset from the tab element, then you can specify this. And similarly, these below are for controller, same thing. Okay. So yeah. Now let's create the other elements. So let me add one single choice window. So basically, single choice window is used to select a single element. Okay, and we can list of elements using a single choice window. Okay, so if we let's say keep it like this. Okay, so let's create some asset first. So I will be needing one text box. So here we need to insert that formal variables. So we need to create formal variable. If we go into the functions, so we need three formal variables. One is for element, that will be a string, and then normal asset asset ID, which will be used for the unselected state, and say this will be of that dynamic text field, and a color asset ID, which will be for the selected state. So now if we go to asset, we can refer that formal variable element here. Okay, let's make it 200. Similarly, we can add one image. Here we will be using dynamic reference. We will select that formal variable. So first we'll be creating the selected state, and then we'll be creating the unselected state. Selected we will be use color asset ID. So let's select this create set group selected element. Okay, let's save this as template. Duplicate this unselected element. So here we just need to update this color asset ID to a normal asset ID once again, and then save this as template. Now if we go here, floating interaction page, then single choice window, let's rename this elements. Now we need to select the default assets. So here we'll be adding the unselected element, is the normal one. Okay. For the hover, we'll be adding the selected element. So let's say selected element. And for press, also we will be using selected. You can create a different asset also if you want different effect for pressed one. For selected, we'll be using say selected element. Okay. So now we need to set the list item size. So to set this size, you need to first go to asset, select your element. So here you can see size is 268.75 cross 80. So we'll be using 269 cross 80. Okay. 269 cross 80. So let's say 269 cross 80. We'll center align this in fixed column. We'll be showing only one column per line. Okay, if you want to give some list item spacing, you can give a, let's say, we'll be using 16 by 16. So now if we go to list item configuration, select the style. Okay, and now we'll be linking the formal variable here. Element, normal ID, color ID. Okay, so we will create one for each element. So let's name this as fire. Okay, so we will be needing element fire here. We'll be needing a normal asset ID and color asset ID. So for that, if we just add some image there to check the asset ID. So for normal pyro, we have this one. And color asset ID, we have this element. Similarly, we will add one more item. Let's rename this as hydro. Select style, length formal variables. Hydro, normal asset ID, you can get from it. Then the colored asset ID, you can select this one. Okay, so this will create two list items. Let's remove this one. So this is now for the tab. When we switch, we need to create two more elements. One, so let's add one text window here. So if we click on Pyro tab, we will show some Pyro related text there. So here let's just keep it Pyro is orange in color. Okay, let's move this up. Similarly, rename this as Pyro. Duplicate this, rename Hydro. Let's say Hydro is blue in color. So now we need to show Pyro and Hydro when tab is selected and hide the elements one. Hide and show elements one only when elements tab is selected. So if we go to the tab section here, okay, then if we go to edit details, so here you can see these three elements. So if you click on elements, you can see these two options. Container status settings. So if you want to hide or show a different container based on when this is selected, you can select that. But as of now, we will be using this control status settings. So here we hide or show controls. Okay. So let me. So if we select elements, pyro, hydro. So when element tab is selected, we will show element. We will hide the pyro one and hide the hydro one. Similarly for pyro, if we select elements pyro, hydro, for pyro one, we will hide the elements show pyro, okay, hide the hydro. Similarly for hydro, we will hide the element, hide the pyro, show the hydro. Okay, so this is all the configuration for the UI. Now let's switch to the node graph. So we need to open this floating interaction page. Let's save this. So let's copy this index. Okay, let's create some node graph. Floating. Okay, let's rename this floating. So we'll be opening this when we click on tab. So when tab is selected, so we'll floating interaction page. will open. So we need to call this show floating interaction page. Okay. So let's get this character entity and get the player entity from there. Floating interaction page index you can paste here. And in a slide data, you need to pass the keys and values. So we need to create one structure, one dictionary. Okay. So it will accept integer as the key and integer list as the value. So what we have this tab, right? So we will select this tab here, then create one assemble list where we'll be getting the integer. So we can dynamically, so if we pass only one, so these are the tab items. So what all items we send in the list, only those will be visible. So say right now we have 3 tabs. Okay. So we can pass 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then connect to this. Similarly, for list item also you need one assembly list. So there we have 2 items only. So let's remove this, one pyro and one hydro. Okay. Now if we go to set elements floating interact single choice window, copy this ID. Okay. Now let's add some objects so that we can add tab to it. So let's say this blend. Now add the node graph which we created. So you can see we have created this floating interaction page. Now let's see how we can update this floating interaction page. So let's say so simply we go here to the floating interaction page. So if you want to hide any element, we don't need to pass that specific item in the list. So if we don't pass that item to the list, then it will not be visible. Say example. So for example, if we remove this one, so then hydro element will not be visible if you open the floating interaction page. So you can see hydro element is not visible. Okay. So this way you can hide specific element and runtime. So if you want to hide at the runtime, you just need to change one node. Okay. You just need to use this node. So show full floating interaction page is used for initializing the floating interaction. And if you want to update at the later stage, you can use this floating interaction. You can use the update floating interaction page. It is similar to this, only thing it can update the floating interaction page while it is open. So you just all parameters are same only. Here you need to pass the list index, visible list item, and the select first item by default if you want to select. So let's say we don't want to select anything, so you can keep this no. Okay. And here visible list item you need to pass. Then suppose you have this list and you want to show both elements at a later stage, so you will pass this both element, and in the list index you will set this index. So this will then update your floating interaction page. Okay. So this way you can update the floating interaction page. Now let's see how we can update a floating interaction page. So suppose we initially only one element is visible and we will add one button. Once we click on that button, then second element will also be visible. So how to do that? Let's go to floating interaction page. Let's set the interactive button here, move it down. So let's say we select this icon. Okay. So this will be the interactive button. Once we click on that, then we will update our floating interaction quest to Node.js. So let's copy this index here. Okay. So let's copy this index. Okay. Let's create one node graph, say player. We need to attach this node graph to the player because we need to listen to the floating interaction. When floating interaction page is trigger event, this will be received on player. Okay, on player. So let's have multiple branches. We need to pass that interactive item index here, then paste that index here. Then you need to call the node update floating interaction page. Interaction. So this node we need to use. We need to pass the player entity list index. You need to pass the list index of the single choice windows. So let's say this element, this index you can copy. You need to pass the visible item list. So now we want to show both elements. So we'll pass both elements there. So let's say integer one, two, both elements we will pass. So now let's attach this to the player entity. Now if we test play this, we open floating interaction page. Actually only one element is visible. Once we click on this button, then another element will also be visible. So you can see hydro is also visible. So yeah, this way you can update the floating interaction page. Also, we can monitor the selected state of the single choice window and show it in the text box. So if you go to the floating interaction page, let's add one text box. So let's say your selected element is, then we will insert the formal variable here. In order to use this formal variable, you need to uh, monitor the formal variable. So you need to enable this. Then you need to select that control which you want to monitor. So here we need to monitor that element single choice windows. Let's select this. Now if we save this, so you can see it is showing your selected element is pyro. Let's add one more element. So if I select hydro now, it will show your selected element is hydro. So yeah, this is about the monitor. So now we'll be looking into how we can monitor a specific control. So if you go to the protein interaction page, say we have this interactive button. So we have one option to control status monitoring. We can monitor a specific control here. So let's say I want to monitor this tab control, means which tab is selected or the element control which element is selected. So let's select this tab one. Okay. So I selected this tab control here. So let's save this thing. Now let's go to the node graph. So here we are listening to this event. So once that button is clicked, we will also get information about that monitor control here, means the list index and the selected list item. So let's see, debug this. Let's replay here. Just play this. So now if we click on this button, so it will return the list item, list index 882 and selected list item 1. So if we go to our UI control group, here if we go to interaction page, then 882 was this tab. You can see, right, it is 882. So we get this tab and the selected element was first one because elements tab was selected. So this way we can get the information about the current selected element also once we click on this button. So it's very useful for specific scenarios. Yeah, that's it. Hello everyone. So today we'll be learning how we can create a custom mini map in Miliastra Wonderland. So for that we need to understand one thing, how mini-map works. Okay. So basically, we will be creating the reference points. So let's say we will be converting the world distance to the pixel distance. So with that way, we'll be mapping our location, current location, with the image pixel location. So for that, uh, we have minimap components. So if you go to manage your control group to the minimap section. So if we have this minimap settings, if we click edit, we can add a minimap here. So we need to upload one image. So currently I'm working on this section. So you need to capture image of this. Okay. So for that, firstly you need to hide this empty objects and the stage entity. So state for hiding the empty object, then go to settings, then toggle this off. To hide the stage entity, just move it out of the site. Okay. Now you need to get the image from the top. So click on this Y axis. So you will get the top down view. So like this, you can capture the image. I have already captured the image, so I will be using that image. So let's say upload image. So this one I've already uploaded. Let's select confirm. Okay. So this we have. Now we need two preset points. One is the origin and one is the orientation point setting. So second preset point will decide the direction. Okay. So which direction is the north? Okay. So let's first create the preset point. If we go to our world, so you need to place the preset point so that you can identify in the image where it is placed. So let's keep it simple. Let's go to preset point management. Let's create a preset point, say mini map origin one. From one, let's keep it somewhere along there. This will be destination. This will be the orientation one. So okay, this will be orientation one. So let's rename this orientation. Orientation. And similarly, just duplicate this one and move this. Let's say there. So this will be the origin. Minimap origin. So now let's go to our minimap here. Select the origin preset point. Select the orientation preset point. Now you can see these two toggles, right? You just need to adjust. So this is the direction one will be placed here. Origin one was somewhere around. So it's let's keep this value as same. Okay. So this will now we need to you can see the distance of the pixel is 56 pixels and we need to set the scene distance per 10 pixels. So we need to calculate how much distance is this in the world. So for that, if we go to the preset point, we have this distance. So we will use the Pythagoras theorem to calculate the distance between origin and direction preset point. So let's calculate this. So here we have given both origin and the destination orientation points. So now let's calculate the distance between these 2 points. So we need to use the Pythagoras theorem to calculate the 3D distance. Okay. So the distance is 5.52. Okay. So 5.52 now in the distance in the minimap was 56. So we will divide by 56. So we will get 1 pixel distance as this. Then to get the 10 pixel distance, we will multiply it by 10. So this 0.98 we will get. So this we will set in the minimap 10 pixel distance value. Okay. Let's give 0.9. Okay. So this is the distance. So you can see it is facing this north direction. Now if we select this or direction point and move it, so you can see north direction is also rotated. So let's revert this. So if you want to face a different direction, you just need to update this direction point uh, then it will be updated in the minimap accordingly. So let's say I want to keep it this way. So I will do this. Say you want it here like this, you want to fill, then you need to keep the direction point here. Okay, so let's now test this. Before that, you need to select the minimap first. So if we go back here, you need to select it. So let's rename this as mini map area one. So minimap area. So you can see right in the minimap, you can see the location of the your character. Okay, so now what we will do? Now we will. So currently we have only shown we have only visible this area. But if we go forward, we need that area also. So at that time, we need to switch our minimap from this to that new area. So for that, now let's add the logic. So if we go to minimap, let's add one more minimap. Rename it as minimap area 2. Let's upload the second image here. Let's say we want this one now. Confirm. So same here also you need to create those two preset points. So let's go to our scene, top down view. Let's take this edges as the preset points to let go to preset point when it create minimap origin 2. So let's keep it down. Okay, now let's duplicate this, rename it as minimap orientation 2. So we just need to update the X direction. So let's say 100. We need to reduce it to 90%. So 35.5, 74, 10, 23.5, 74 is minus. Okay. So we have these 2 points that are there. So now if we go to manage in a control group, minimap area 2, select those 2 points, origin 2, orientation 2. Same procedure we need to repeat again to set the origin to the exact same position. Same here. And then the direction on just keep the y value same. So let's copy this only x value. So we have 1163 pixels here. So let's calculate the distance of those preset points. So if we go to origin 2, so it's this minus 70, then the second preset point. So now let's calculate the distance between this origin and the orientation point. So the distance, we will use the Pythagoras theorem. So the distance will be 147.82. So this is the distance. Now per pixel distance, we need to calculate. So we need to divide by number of pixels between the origin and the orientation point. So we will get 0.1228. Now we need 10 pixel distance, so we will multiply it by 10. So we get around 1.22. So now this we will add in our mini map. Okay. Wait. Let's type this 1.22. So yeah. Now we just need to switch the mini map once we are in the new area. So let's just do those things here. So I have this trigger here. So once we reach this trigger, once this is triggered, then we will switch the mini map. So for that, if I go here, so we have this quest object. So here we have this dialog on 7 trigger. So here we will call that node to switch the map. So for that, we have this switch custom maps node graph. We need to pass the player and target player here. So for that, you can so basically just loop through all the players, loop or loop body will connect this to all the player entities we will get. Then we will get this player map config ID you need to pass here. So let's select this custom minimap and the minimap area one. Okay. So once again, this is minimap area 2 and the minimap area also. So this copy this configuration ID. You can just pass it here. So it's the custom minimap here. And then display map. Yes. Config check. So as of now, you can see this area as well. Okay, now let's move to the new area and see whether the minimap will update or not. So for that, let's enable the first so now you can see this part of the minimap is updated. So yeah, this is about this minimap. There, one more thing I want to show here. So if we test play this again, and if you open the minimap, you can see currently it's focusing in this area, the player. So to focus on the player, we need to add the minimum marker to the player. So, so if we go here, then to the character, if we add this minimap marker to a character here, okay, so let's select this player's marker. Now, let's display. Let me remove this translation. So now if we open that, it is focused on the player's marker. Okay. So yeah, this is about the minimap. Hello everyone. So today we'll be learning how we can use the image UI element. Okay. So we need to go to the manage UI control group here. Then here you can add image UI element. Okay. So here you can see the settings. These are the transform settings. You can set the location of the image and the size. What will be the size? Say, let's say we want 100 by 100. So we can increase and the zoom factor. So if you want to zoom that image, so you can give some value, okay? And you can also rotate. So say you want to rotate by 45-degree, you can rotate, okay? And this is the anchor type you can set. Means how this image will be positioned based on the screen. Okay, so we have few waypoint settings. Whether you want to position it based on the top left, this middle, top middle, or the top right. This you can configure based on your needs. Okay, and here you can see the minimum, maximum, center. These are related to these waypoint settings you can configure. Okay, and then the visibility status you can set whether you want to show this image or not. Okay. Now the main setting is this image setting. So here we have few image source options. So You can see we have these many. So we will go through one by one. So one is first is the static reference. So here it will be a static image. You can select any asset resource from here. Okay. So say I selected this one. So this image will be applied. Similarly, you can choose according to your need what icon you want to show. We have various options here. Okay. So suppose if I selected, let's say this one. So here you have the option to change the fill color also if you want to change. So you can change the fill color here. And this is the image tab, whether you want to stretch it or not, that you can set. We have the basic and the stretch option here. Set this will set to default size. So this is the static reference. Also, you can pass a dynamic reference. So here you need to provide the asset ID. So how we can provide the asset ID? So you need to create one asset here. So I've created this image asset. Okay, here I have this image and the UI animation. Okay, so I will copy the asset index here. Okay, and let's create one variable asset ID. You know, if we go to the interface layout here, we can link that variable asset ID. So you can see this icon is shown here. If we display this, yeah, you can see this asset. So yeah, asset is very simple to create. So you just need to add a asset template. So say example, if you want some image, you can select, let's say, if you want to create this one, be okay. Just select this. Let's see. Okay. And other animation also, if you want to add, you can select that UI animation. So let's say this time we select this side through one. UI animation, above all controls below. Okay, so now you just need to select these two and then create asset group. You can click, so it will create the asset group. So let's say the image, save as template. Now copy this index. Okay, let's try this. So you can see now we have a different asset used here. Now the next is item. So here you need to pass the config ID. Okay. So let's say I have already created one item. Okay. So this box item I have created. So if we select this box item and then here we need to pass this asset ID, right? So here we need to pass the config ID. So we go here, change the type to configuration ID, page step ID. So you can see that box is visible here. So this is of red color, but here you can see item is this golden color. So here we need to first go to this static reference, then name this original color. Okay, then if we switch again to item, so you can see it's now golden. So basically they need to give a color drop down here also. So that I will raise feedback for that. So now we have the option for equipment also here. So equipment you can select here. You need to provide the equipment config ID. So I've created one this equipment sword. So if I go to this, you can see now you can see that sword equipment here. So you can select the skill. So say I've created one skill here. Field skill. You will copy this configuration ID. Then here if you go can pass this configuration ID. You can see that skill is shown here. Similarly, if we go to unit status, you need to pass the unit status config ID. So I've created one unit status here, speed booster. Let's copy this ID. So you can see this unit status icon is visible now. Similarly, if you want, you go for the faction. So you need to pass the faction ID here. So to check the faction ID, you need to go to state settings. Here you have the option for factions. So this is the faction ID. Here for player faction, it's one. And this is the faction icon, which will be visible in the image. So we will select this one. Go here, change type to faction. So you can see that player faction color is icon is visible. Similarly, if you want for currency, you can pass the currency config ID. I have already created one currency here. You can click on this add currency and create your own currency. So I created this currency with this icon. So this icon will be visible in the image. So if I paste this, name this configuration ID, so you can see that currency is visible here. Similarly, you can change this to prefab. You need to pass the prefab ID then. So I've created one prefab elemental torch. Just copy this prefab ID, change the tag to prefab ID, and prefab ID you can give. So you can see that elemental torch prefab is visible here. So these are all the options for this image. Yeah, thank you. Hello everyone. So today we'll be learning about special number UI elements. So if we go to the manage UI control group, and here you can add UI control, prefabricated template, then the special number. So here you have the settings for the transformation, means you can set the location, size, zoom factor, waypoint, means the anchor point and the waypoint settings, and the visibility you can control here. Main setting is this special number. So basically, this special number is used to uh, shows values for these specific things. One skill, second item, third the unit status. So first we will go through the skill. So for the skill, you can select the slot for the skill. So here I am showing for the normal attack. So let's select the normal attack. You can select any slot and then see the numbers for those. Let here you can see these values, data content. You can see the skill remaining cooldown time, skill usages, skill resources, skill availability. So here you can select the if you selected cooldown time, you can select whether you want to show in seconds, minutes, or hours. Okay, and the below settings are just for font, text color, and outline color in the language. So, yeah, so let's create a skill first, then we'll see. So, let's create one field skill. Okay, so let's just create our animation. Okay, and so, okay, so we can add some cooldown here. Okay, and then the usage limits, say we have 5 usages. Also, resource consumption you can add here. So we'll go through first this cooldown and usage limit. So this special number we can duplicate this. In the second one, we will see the skill usages. Okay, and the first one will be the cooldown time. Okay, so let's try this. We need to add this skill to the class. So let's add in the normal attack slot. You can add. So you can see we can see that 5 usages is present. And if we use that normal skill, then you can see the time also, cooldown time. So you can see time is visible, and the usages are also updating when we use again. Okay, now let's check the resource consumption. Okay, and the skill availability. Okay, so let's update this to the skill resources and this to the skill availability. So you need to give the interactive state and the non-interactive state. Is suppose when skill is available to use, so we can say it's enabled, and if it's not available to use, then we can say it's disabled. Okay, let's create a skill resource. So you need to go here, then skill resource. So I've already created the skill resource. So here, just copy this configuration ID. Let's add some mechanism so that we can increase their skill resource. So here we will attach one node graph. Let's first create one node graph. When the tab is selected, we will increase the skill resource, increase skill resource amount, for the configuration ID. Let's say we increase by 5. Select current entity you can do. Now let's attach this to this entity. Let's try this. So you can see currently it's showing well, okay. So we can use this, right? So we need to firstly we need to set the skill resource here. So let me remove this usage limit and add the skill resource. Okay. And then we can save this. Now you can see, okay, so you need to set the consumption value also. So here, if you go, you can set the consumption value to 10. Now if we test, you can see it's disabled. So, and skill resource amount value is 0. And here we need to add tabs so that we can trigger the tab index. Okay. So let's tab here. You can see now if we click tab, that amount is increased by 5. Again, that amount is increased by 5 and the skill is enabled. When we use the skill now, it again consumed that 10 points and then it becomes disabled. Okay. So this is about this skill one. Now let's check about the item one. So here we will now change the data source to item. So we need the item config ID. So let's see, we will be using this box item. So here, just copy this config ID. Okay. So we have this pull down here. So we will be using this pull down in the UI. So here we have selected this item remaining pull down time. We need config ID. So we need to create one variable item config ID. Let's select this configuration ID, paste this. Then we need to select that config ID here, paste all this. Okay. Also, you can, items remaining also you can show so that we will go through first that item remaining cooldown time. So for that, first we need to create a shop. Okay. So for that, you need to go to here, inventory component. Shop we don't require, but we need inventory. So let's use this inventory and add the items to the inventory. Okay. So let's say we add 10 items. So we will check we have this 10 box items and we can use, so we can have this cooldown also. Wait a second. Same cooldown we can say in UI also, right? So this is about the cooldown. Now let's check for the number of items. Okay, so we go to here. If we select here two items remaining, we can select and if we just play this. So right now you can see we have 10 items in the inventory also we have 10 items. If you use one, then we have 9 items and in UI also you can see 9 items, right? So this is about the item. We check about the unit status special number. So we can have these settings, monitor entity variable, unit status config ID. These two variables we need to create. So I've already created these variables there. So one is to store the unit status config ID and one is to store the unit status entity. So unit status config ID, I've created one unit status here, uh, speed booster. So this config ID I've stored. So these two and I'm using this entity variable and the config ID. This variable we need to populate it. Okay, so that we will do in node graph. So and this config ID, so we can show duration and the stack count for the unit status. So let me duplicate this thing. So this I will select stack count here. So currently my unit status, it has a stack maximum layer of 5. So and the duration and time duration is 30 seconds. So now let's create the node graph. Okay. Unit status. Okay. So when tab is selected, then we need to set the custom variable of the stage entity. So we need to get the stage entity here. Variable name we need to get. So let's copy this. And then the value we can set selector entity. Also we need to add the unit status. So we need the applier entity. So let's say this is the applier and application target is the selector entity. Unit status config ID unit. So let's see applied stack. So let's say we applied one stack here. To check this. So if I click on tab, so on screen, we need to add that node graph. Okay. Let's add that status node graph. Okay. Now to check. If I click that, you can see runtime timer is running and the stack count is 1. If I again click tab, stack count is increased by 1 to max. Stack count was 5, so we can go max of 5 here. After that, it will not increase. So this is about the unit status special number.